I'm really big on taking action, and I'm really in tune with like when I feel or hear of something that makes me a little excited, I really run towards it. A lot of people procrastinate, put things off. I'm really kind of the opposite. If I really am intrigued by something or excited, I want to experience it now. I want to learn about it now, and I like go full-fledged. My friends always make fun of me like, "Oh, don't get him interested in something because he's gonna go off in the deep end and try to learn everything there is." But the point is, I like to take action.
I'm Art Blanchford, and this is Life in Transition, a podcast about making the most of the changes we're given. As a married father of 3 teenagers, a longtime global business executive and adventurer, I've been through hundreds of transitions in my life. Many have been difficult, but all have led to a depth and richness I could never have imagined. You'll get to hear all about them on this podcast so that together we can create more love and joy in our lives, no matter what transitions we are going through. All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Life in Transition. I'm really excited today to have Max Lewis joining us. Max is an ultra successful entrepreneur and has accomplished really the American dream at the ripe old age of 36 and has really great lessons. But mostly from talking to Max before, I'm really inspired, Max, by when I asked you about your biggest transitions, it was very personal things, not the big business things we talked about. So we can talk about those some as well. But I was very intrigued by your answer to those questions. And I really look forward to unpacking those a little bit with you today. But most welcome to the Life in Transition podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to covering those as well. It's always fun to chat with a friend, and I consider you a new friend now. So thank you, and let's get to it.
Awesome. Thanks, Max. Really appreciate it. So jumping in, like of those things that, we talked about earlier, or if something else comes up for you, what do you consider the most meaningful transitions you've had in your life, the most meaningful or impactful, or sometimes it's difficult, but the things that have had the most impact, the transitions that you've been through, what comes up for you?
Yeah, so now my top 3, I just recently added the third one, but my top 3 would be firstly graduating from Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins. I felt like I went in one person and came out like a newborn, clean,
Yeah.
and brand new slate. And second was getting baptized in the Jordan River, where Jesus was baptized. That was an incredible experience. I mean, literally tears of joy. Something that you can't really even explain that experience. I didn't even understand why I was crying. It was intense, man. This guy so I don't know if you know Benny Hinn. He's a pastor.
I don't know
Famous
him.
pastor. Yeah.
Okay.
Famous pastor. And when they baptized me, he like tapped me on my forehead right here. Right. Actually, it's funny because I have a picture right here. I'm going to show you.
Oh, great.
And yeah, I just realized I have it right here. So
Grab it
he
if you want
taps
to
me.
and show it to us.
Yeah, I'm going to grab it right now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he taps me on my forehead here with his finger. And he says, in Christ, you're a new creature, something like that. And when he taps me, I remember feeling like I got zapped like with a lightning bolt. Like it was intense, man. I remember grabbing my head and like, drifting back. And when I told people about this later, because, later on, I was like, man, I felt like I got hit by a lightning bolt. And, some people were like, cool. And other people were, of course, like, yeah, okay, this guy.
What are you smoking, right?
Yeah, right. So a couple days later, I actually run into this lady in the lobby. She's like, hey, they have pictures of us when we got baptized. And I was like, really? Where is it? Oh, in the galley, whatever. I go in the galley and I find this. Let me grab this for you. Pardon the noise.
No, it's all right.
So I find my picture and I freak out, dude, because look at me holding my head.
Yep.
From like if I got zapped.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Can you see that?
I can see it very clearly.
Oh
Wow.
my God. So that was like, I was like, I told you. I felt like, So it was super cool. And I couldn't stop crying for like 10 minutes, but they were tears of joy.
Wow.
And that was incredible. And lastly I just completed a week with Joe Dispenza in Mexico, Cancun, learning how to meditate and connecting to the unified field, which I have identified as, I think that's God. It's
right.
Omnipresent energy, so. And that was incredible. Another unbelievable experience. And again, like you mentioned, nothing to do with money. All three of them really had nothing to do with
Right.
any money.
So I would
So
love to dive into the getting baptized in the Jordan River. I mean, that
sure.
just there's, I don't know, it just resonates with me and I'm really curious about it and what led you to do it. What have you learned or what's transformed with you since then? How long ago was that? And this thing about, being touched by someone who's really plugged in spiritually and feeling it, that's very
Hmm.
real. I mean, I've read a
Yeah.
lot of accounts. I've talked to a lot of people that have had that, whether it's an Indian mystic or whether it's someone baptizing. I've never talked to someone who's had it from being baptized in the Jordan River. I think that's really cool. But
Mhm.
what led you to do it? What have you noticed that shifted besides this really great emotional release and this physical sensation that you felt?
Yeah. So I'm really big on taking action, and I'm really in tune with like when I feel or hear of something that makes me a little excited, I really run towards it. A lot of people procrastinate, put things off. I'm really kind of the opposite. If I really am intrigued by something or excited, I want to experience it now. I want to learn about it now, and I like go full fledged. My friends always make fun of me, like, "Oh, don't get him interested in something because he's gonna go off in the deep end and try to learn everything there is." But the point is, I like to take action. So I went to a church. I was invited to a church sermon to see Benny Hinn. Didn't know him. My aunt told me about him, and I said, sure, I'd love to go. I took a friend that I felt like should have the experience. And while we were there, he casually mentioned, we're going to be going to Israel at the end of the year. Does anybody want to go? And I'm like, I
Sign me
want to
up.
go. Yeah. So um, I signed up. I took my aunt. I didn't know, much about him or the group that was going, but I was like, I would love to go. And I went. I think we were there for 5 days. We toured the Holy Land. We saw all the holy sites where Jesus was born, Bethlehem, all that stuff was incredible. And, obviously getting baptized in the Jordan River, like, come on.
Yeah, that's
Talking
amazing.
about once in a lifetime by a pastor that's like, really spiritually connected. I couldn't pass up that opportunity. And
So then you
yeah.
had this experience of like this, I don't know what to call it, spiritual energy or electricity, you felt this connection with him when he touched you on the head there in the river. And we can see it in your picture, which is really cool that we can see the evidence of that. What happened for you after that? You said you had this big release of emotion.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I really felt like I had wiped the slate clean in my life at that time. I felt so clean, so
Mm,
pure. I guess you could say I was filled with the Holy Spirit at that time. And I remember the first sin that I committed after that, and I felt a lot of that energy leave me.
mm, mm.
I remembered it vividly. I was like, like I was so perfect. I felt amazing. Um, so that's
So you had
interesting to
this
know.
really experience of exactly what Jesus talks about taking all of the sin off of you, all of your
Mhm.
past, and being
Yep,
really reborn,
yep,
completely clean, completely accepted, completely loved as
yep.
you are.
Mhm.
And then sometime later, you said you had the next sin and you felt some of that energy leave. If you
Right.
don't mind saying, what was that? How long ago? How long after the baptism was that? And what did it feel like when you felt some of it leave?
It was probably 2 weeks after I got baptized,
Mm-hmm.
and I was basically did something I didn't want to do
Right.
with my girlfriend after being gone for 2 weeks.
Right.
I'll let you fill in the blank, whatever you think that
Yeah.
is. And I really didn't want to do it. I was like, man, I feel so good. I don't want to do that. I'm feeling great. And she hadn't had the experience I had, right?
Right.
So she was living in the flesh, and I was kind of like having this whole spiritual experience. I was feeling very holy, and man, I literally felt that beautiful peace, that energy leave me. It
Mm,
was crazy. It was
interesting.
crazy. But I'll tell
But
you
uh,
something that I learned with Joe, which ties into what we're talking about now.
right.
We're all energy,
Yes.
and it's people don't really acknowledge that much. Like everything is energy,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's like very overlooked. People think they talk about the spirit and this and that. It's like, dude, we're all energy. When we leave our bodies, like we are not our bodies. Our bodies are like these tools that we're using, but
Yeah.
really what's running us is the energy and our spirit inside. So just interesting to note. And I would encourage people to do a little bit more research on that. And just,
Well, the spirit is this energy, the connection that we
yeah,
have, right? I mean, that's
yeah,
what it is. And it is
yeah,
interesting because, you know, like the cleanest definition of sin that I have heard is sin is just anything that separates us from God.
right.
Right. And that's exactly what you explained. You had this really great closeness. You had this peace of God that surpasses all understanding. And then you
Hmm.
did something that separated you a little bit in that
Yep.
time. And then,
Yep.
yeah, that's interesting.
And I felt it, man. I was so sad about it, because
And
I'd
then,
never felt that pure before,
right. Right. Wow.
It was incredible.
What an amazing experience. Have you done anything to get that feeling back since then?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Go to church, you ask for forgiveness, you try to live life the best you can. I think I had a similar, nothing was like the Jordan River, but similar experience was now with Joe, where you learn how to kind of release energy and old traumas and things like that, and you're kind of doing again, not, you can't compare it, but clearing out old energies. And it was just a wonderful experience. Things that I never thought I would ever do or be willing to do, like meditating. I was kind of very scared of it, frankly. Like, I didn't want to have out of body experiences and be detached from my body and things like that. But when you do it and you get comfortable with it, it's really amazing. It's a beautiful experience.
So what was scary to you about it? What was it that kept you?
Not not having control. I
Mm,
think as human beings, we think we're in control of everything, or we want to control everything. And not having that control, you don't want to not have control. Why would you not
right.
want to have control, especially over
Right.
your body? Like, how
Right.
scary is that? This is all I know as a human
Right.
being. I know these hands and this face and
Right.
these legs. So saying, hey, you take the wheel, do what you want. It's like, well, am I even going to come back to this body? Like,
Right.
that's
Right.
scary, man. So
Right.
I was really fighting it the first 3 days. It's like, oh, release. And, you start to feel your consciousness lift out of your body. And I freak out.
Right.
Come back here.
Right.
Come back.
No, I'm
Do
not
my
going
hands
there.
still work? Yeah. Are my eyes blinking? Am I breathing? Oh yeah. Okay. Getting past that hump, it was challenging for me. I did not go willing.
Right. So let me ask you, from your experience there with Joe Dispenza or other areas in your life, how much are we in control anyway? Like you say, you want to hold on to control. You want to at least think you're in control. How much are we actually in control and how much are we not?
Well, I'll tell you what, my belief is God has a plan for our life, and there's things that we are here to experience and accomplish. And but that being said, I also believe that you can call things into your life, you bring things into your life, and that's not to say that they're permanent, because they could be for a time, but we do have the power to to manifest to manifest things. And a lot of what meditation has taught me, at least in this week, was you can bring things to you using that skill, power, however you want to call it. I don't think that's going to define your entire life, but definitely can alter certain aspects of your life and change things of your life. My girlfriend and I have experienced a lot of what meditation can, how you can benefit from meditation recently, with just trying to manifest certain things. And again, instead of matter moving matter, which would be your physical body going out and trying to achieve something
Right.
physically,
Right.
hey, how about we meditate and have these intentions and try to draw those experiences or those opportunities to us and see what happens.
Right. Right.
And lo and behold, it works.
Wow.
It works. I'm not going to tell you that I think about, oh, I want the winning lottery numbers and then I get them, but we've had some pretty interesting experiences in the last couple of weeks with just practicing it and setting out those positive intentions.
And this is what a lot you got from Joe Dispenza. So that was part of the transition
Yeah.
from Joe Dispenza.
Yeah. So I tell people, a lot of my friends have been asking me about this recently, and I'm like, look, I did a version of this. If you read my book, I did a very, very junior version of this as a young man. where I had my dreams and I visualized them, but that was more like visualization. And I might have gotten into a meditative state for a few minutes without even knowing it. This is like more of a conscious effort. That was more like, you know, again, like I'm visualizing, oh, I'm there, I got my money, I'm accomplished my goals, and that's really what I want. And whether I did that for 2 minutes or 10, I was kind of going down that road a little bit. What we learned with Joe Dispenza is like master expert level stuff. It's well beyond visualization. It's pretty intense.
No, cool. And I appreciate the recommendation to go attend that. And that's been on my list for a while too. And I haven't taken the action on it yet. So I look forward to doing that.
Make
And for
moves,
everybody
man.
watching, this is the book he's talking about. Who is Max Lewis? And pick up a copy and learn about his story, which maybe we'll get to some more in here. But very interesting that you see the difference between sort of just visualizing, which maybe is more of a hope, than tuning into the field and really opening yourself up to being the kind of person that you need to be to attract the kind of life that you want to have.
Absolutely. And our experience with that for my girlfriend and I, it's really been like kind of like getting a message. So for example, let's say you're trying to make $1 million by the end of the year. Well, when you're in these not manifestations, when you're in these meditations, and let's say, for example, you're going to go into your meditation with that intent, like, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, whatever. You really tune in. What has happened, at least in my case and in my girlfriend Francesca's case, is that you feel like you'll get a message, like, you know what, you should call Art today.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, it'll just pop in.
Absolutely.
And your meditation might be 20 minutes, it might be 40 minutes, it might be an hour, but that you'll get like these little, okay, I should do this, I should call this person. You don't know why. I have no idea why, but hey, message, call Art today and see what he's doing. And I don't know, like one thing leads to another, and it's been really cool. The other day I had a letter. I was sending out one of my books to somebody, and I had a letter, and I was like, it's like a big time guy, right? And I was like, what the heck do I write to this guy? Like, I have no idea what to send him, like what to say on this letter. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna do my meditation, and when I come back, I'll write the letter. I got everything I needed in that meditation. I literally came inside, because we did it outside, came right inside, sat down, and wrote everything I needed to write, like immediately, no hesitation, just boom. That's what I sent him. And it was cool because it was like a letter that I've never sent anyone before. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think I can only emphasize and put an exclamation point on what you're saying from my personal experience. And that I really think I get a lot of people that'll ask me, I'm trying to fix this problem, and they're focused on some issue that they want to fix in their life. And I always say, you can't fix an external problem with what's going on inside. It's an inside job. The first thing you have to do is connect to whatever you want to call it. You want to call it God, you want to call it source, you want to call it the unified energy field. You have to connect, and then you'll get direction from there. Yeah. And it may not make sense, right? In the Bible, it says we should not rest on our own understanding.
Right.
And, exactly. And I think that's so beautiful, because it's often the case. And I'm lucky enough that I have that experience probably almost daily, from my spiritual time in the morning, to where I could get to check in and see what would you have me do today, and how should I handle this, or what should I write about this, and it is right. And to be willing to, and I love your bias for action. I really do. And I think sometimes about my lack of it, but I love your bias for action. And I love that you're willing to do without knowing why, because we can't see down the road farther around the bend. But if we don't take that step, we'll not be able to see around the bend. If we do take the step, then we'll be able to see what's next. So
right. So be still, right? Because that's be still and know, right? And then taking that step without knowing is faith.
Right.
Faith.
Yeah.
So it's all biblical. I'm telling you, like when Joe was teaching all this stuff, I'm like, this guy's basically teaching the Bible without saying that it's the Bible.
Right.
I'm like, this is all biblical stuff, and it's awesome. And to add to that, with the being still part, like, I teach a concept in my book called thinking time, which is stopping what you're doing and setting a clock for 20, 40 an hour or whatever, and getting a question and working on that question and just really thinking about that question. Well, a big part of that is, and obviously not having any distractions, no phone, no anything. Big part of that is being present.
Yes.
These are
Yes.
very similar exercises. Meditation doesn't include a pen and paper, but this does. But they're very similar
Right.
exercises. Sit down. Don't think about what you're doing when you're going to get up from here. Don't think about what happened yesterday. Let's be here
Right.
and let's think about this and see what comes up. See what comes up. Journal, write. What about this? What about that? Boom, boom, boom. What you'll see as happens is you'll have a page or several pages of ideas. When you're done, you're gonna be like, wow, I didn't even know I had all that in me. Or maybe you just downloaded some of it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and when you're done, circle the top 3, get to work, take some action, make something happen.
And Max, is this something you've learned since selling your business, or is this something you learned and used while you built your business?
So in almost all cases, I did a version of things and then I evolved to greater. So for example, when I first started my business, when I first had the idea, first thing I did, I got home and I literally had exactly one of these, one of these.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got these ideas. I'm gonna do this. I write about it. It's in the book. I'm gonna have a propane tank with wheels to make it look fast, and the price is gonna be $13.99. And I was just brainstorming
Yep.
stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to get my ideas on paper. As I got older and I started studying with different people like Tony Robbins and Keith Cunningham, I started to refine that skill and realize how much power this really has. It's got way more power than anybody gives it credit for. When you write this down, when you write these ideas and these thoughts and these goals and these visions down on a piece of paper, you cannot forget them. And you constantly have somewhere to aim at. It could be scribbled on a napkin.
Right.
I'm going to do this. I want to do it like this, and that. Boom, tape that napkin on your wall. It's not going anywhere unless you decide you're going to rip it off the wall. But that has a lot of power. And when you really refine that skill and then you implement asking the right questions and putting yourself like on a timeline and things of that nature, man, you become a force to be reckoned with, because this is like an expert manifester stuff.
Right.
This isn't just some kid jotting scribble in his notebook anymore, which, by the way, happened to work.
Right.
But there's different levels. There's different levels of life and of manifesting. So, I always kind of had that and just got better. When I met Keith Cunningham, it got way better, because he has really refined the process of thinking time.
Interesting. No, that's interesting. It's a place I probably don't spend enough time. And so I appreciate that reminder, to use that process, because good stuff does come from it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always, the times I have used it, it's not always easy. It's not always comfortable.
Oh no, it's actually I'm telling you, it's just like meditating, because you know what happens? When throughout your day, in most people's cases, are you accustomed to saying, you know what, I'm going to sit in this chair, I'm going to turn off my phone, my wife, my kids, my dogs, everything's on the other side of the house, no one's going to bother me, there's no potential visual or audio distractions, and I'm going to sit here with this pen and this paper and a question for an hour.
Right.
What's going to happen? Well, 5 minutes in, oh man, I should get something to drink. Oh, I should grab a donut. Oh, I should go pee. Oh, I wonder what my wife's. Oh, I forgot to tell her to take the groceries out of the. Whatever you start, and you have to bring yourself back and say, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm going to sit here for an hour. Put a timer, because if not, if you don't put a timer, what happens? You start checking what time is it?
Right.
Don't wear a watch. Right. Don't wear a watch, because now you're looking at the watch and you're not thinking. Right. So you have to eliminate all these things and sit there. When the heck does anyone do that in their normal life?
Right.
Never. It just doesn't happen, dude.
Right.
You ask any friend of yours, hey, let me ask you a question. Did you sit in your room today for an hour by yourself with no phone, no radio, no nothing, and just think about stuff? No, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's right.
So, and that's shares similar properties to meditating, because in meditating, it's essentially what you're doing.
Right.
without having that question, but you're putting that intention out there, and that's rolling around, and
So
that's how you get.
when you've done this silent thinking process where you pose a question and then you wait for it to come back or download or come clear, whatever you want to call it, what's been one of the most interesting things that's come to you during that process?
Oh God, I've done this exercise so many times. I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that to you, because you can do thinking time with anything,
Right.
like literally anything, getting in shape, starting a business, improving your relationship, whatever. And every thinking time will produce different answers, or different insights, right? Questions, suggestions. You'll write down, well, what if this, or maybe if I tried that, I've never gone to this place, or and you just have all this stuff on this paper. And then that's step one, right? Like, you've extracted a bunch of potentials. But then the second part is, okay, what are we going to do about it now?
Right.
And a lot of people might get there and then say, wow, this was crazy, and then go walk the dog and forget all about it.
Right.
The next part is the real part, where it's like, hey, where's the gold here? Let's highlight the gold. And then what are we going to do about this? Like, we have this amazing idea. What are we going to do about it? How many times have you heard someone, man, that guy stole my idea? Right?
Right.
I invented that 6 years ago in my head. I never did shit about it.
Right.
Yeah, this is life. So that's, where the rubber meets the road is,
So how
what
do
are
you
we going to do?
decide what's wheat and what's chaff? What's the process you go through? What kind of, sensation or knowing or feeling do you have in your body, or what kind of, how do you
Yeah.
get clear on what's the gold, as you
I
call
think
it?
for example, once you get done with your process and you review all your notes, they're going to jump at you. They're going to jump out at you. The ones that are good, you're going to look at and be like, oh man, that's a good one. Wow, that's
So there's some sort of positive energy coming up in your body when you review it
yeah.
and you see the ones that it becomes
Oh,
clear and you have this.
I didn't think about that one. Ooh, that's a good one right there. Oh, this one too, but oh, this is good. Now grab that and let's work on that. Right? What are the, depending what that insight was,
And do you
you know,
usually, when you have that, whatever the process that you're working on, do you usually just take the one and focus on that and take action on that right away, or do you take
usually,
five or
you,
six,
you,
or
yeah, usually it's like two, three things, and
okay,
yeah, right away I make a list. What could I do? So, for example, let's use something simple. Let's say I wanted to get in shape, and I have a bunch of insights. I need to, eat better, drink water, blah 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 blah.
right,
And maybe one of them is hire a personal trainer. Well, I mean, let's just play with it right now. So let's say I had to hire a trainer, drink only water, make the time. So let's say I'm going to set my alarm early. Let's say I'm going to set an alarm to go to bed so I don't complain that I didn't get enough sleep. Because that's another one. People set an alarm for the morning, but they won't set an alarm at night. Set an alarm at night. Oh, it's time to go to bed.
yeah.
Um, let's see. What else could I do? You need to take vitamins, protein, increase protein intake. Let's see. What else could I do? Start the day with the gym instead of say I'll do it later, because a lot of times the day gets
Absolutely, yeah.
now I
Win the
can't
first 30
go.
minutes of the day, right?
Timer. I could get a program online. Every day they'll give you a different workout.
Yep.
I could get my wife enlisted so that she goes to the gym with me, and then I could reward myself when I hit goals, whether it's weight loss or gain, whatever it is you're trying to do. So there's a bunch of stuff we just jotted down. So we have hire a trainer, drink only water, set an alarm to wake up, set an alarm to go to bed, take vitamins, increase protein, decrease carb, start the day with the gym, put a timer when I'm at the gym, get an online program, enlist my wife. there's a handful of them here. None of these are amazing, but let's say my most amazing one, or my top ones, are going to be get my wife involved, because that'll make my life a lot easier. I'm going to set an alarm to rise, set an alarm to go down. I'm going to start the day with the gym. That's a huge one. I think that would really help. And let's say drink water only and increase protein. So if this was my goal, and again, this is like a really crappy one compared to what I normally would come up with, because I'd also be working on it for an hour, not 60 seconds.
But this is the process. Like you would go into the process of thinking with, I'm going to think for 30 minutes or an hour, whatever the timer is. I'm going to set a timer. I have my journal and my pen and nothing else. And I'm not going to move until the timer goes off. And I want to figure out how I'm going to get in shape.
Right. Another one is find my most in shape friend. Right. Ask him to work out with me.
Right.
So right now I would get up. Before I get up, I'd call my most in shape friend, ask him, hey, do you work out in the mornings? If he does, great. What time? I want to start going with you. It's probably going to be earlier than I want to go. I'm going to set my alarm for that time. Okay, great. I want to go with you. Boom. That's number one. Number two, drink only water. Walk over to the fridge, throw away all the fucking soda, all the milk, all the juice, literally pour it down the drain, throw it away.
Right.
Gone. This decision was made here. That's what we're doing. If I'm serious about this, if I want to accomplish this goal, this is what I'm doing. Vitamins, boom. Order the vitamins before I get up on Amazon. Men's multivitamin. We can get a better one later, but we're going to start.
Right.
I'm starting now.
Yeah, I like that bias fraction. Yep.
Yeah, done. Protein. I'm going to decide right now. Okay, honey, do me a favor. Get 4 dozen eggs. Get some chicken breast. Get some tuna, whatever. Send her that message before I get off this chair as well. Online training program, same thing. Boom, online. What's the best app? Which one is the most effective? Boom, download it right now. Put it in my phone. So just, and this is the taking action part.
Right.
All of them are great. What is going to be the most effective for me? It's going to be my own willpower. It's going to be leverage against myself. Like, what do I have? What am I going to lose if I don't do this?
And when I was listening to you, Max, I could hear which one resonated with you the most. And it's also the one you said the first. It was about working out in the morning and then getting your friend, enlisting your friend to help you do that, to get over. Right. I could hear when you just going down the list. And so that also helps me. So I really appreciate you doing this type of role play, which you also talk about in your book, but to do this type of role play so I could see it. Because when you were reading them, there wasn't one that was obviously better until I heard you reading them. And I was like, aha, there's a lot more energy. I could feel your energy around that one, that you knew for you, somewhere and you knew for you, that was the most important thing to do.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, guys, because I've experienced it. I've experienced, well, let me just do this first and then I'll do the gym. And guess what?
No, doesn't happen. Yeah.
No,
the other thing that I love. No, that's right. The other thing I love with your bias to action there, Max, was I was listening to all the stuff you listed that you took before, like all these things you could do before you got up from your chair. And literally that was like 20 to 45 minutes worth of things. All of it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, but setting the date, finding the app, ordering, talking to your wife. I mean, you could have a long conversation with your wife. You could have a long conversation with your friend. But if you just did it on the ways, I mean, if you think about it, you got a great start. You did more action than most people do in a month before you got up from your chair. And those weren't things that take a lot of time, and you're not analyzing them. You're just, okay, I'm taking the next viable action and I'm doing it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bam, 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 bam. That's what can I do right now? And then let's say I was left with some things that I couldn't accomplish. So let's say, gosh, I don't know. Would I have program online? Let's say I couldn't. Here's the thing, and I love it because when I coach people, I'm like, dude, there's nothing that you couldn't have done right now. Like, there's very few things that you cannot make some headway on.
Exactly. You can't take at least the minimal viable step, right?
Something. We're in 2023, dude. Like, everything is like at your fingertips. So even me trying to find something that I had to put off for later, but let's pretend I could. So let's say there's 3 things. I would put them in order. I'd say, okay, I wasn't able, let's say I couldn't get the vitamins, I couldn't find the program, and I couldn't get my wife to join me. So maybe I'm going to get my wife to join me is my top one, because if I could change her schedule, now we both change our schedule. Now this becomes a lot easier. And then on vitamins and then, whatever. I would just put those in order and try and work my way down. So let's say number 1 is not happening. She does not want to go. End of story. I'm not going to remove it from the list. I'm just going to skip down to
the
2.
Next one. Yep.
Let me try to wrap this up, and then 3 and wrap that up. And then I'll circle back to 1 again.
Yep.
And really try to figure that out. And if she doesn't want to do it, if it's something that I don't feel I need, done. If it's
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
I absolutely have to, I will figure out a way to not put leverage on her to
Right.
accomplish my goal. Like if it has to happen, it's happening.
Right.
That's another thing. A lot of people throw their hands up. Oh, I asked her. She said no. Trust me, you don't get it. My wife's a tough cookie, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? You obviously weren't using the right leverage.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's something that's really important for you and it's really going to benefit both of you, and it may take some
Yeah.
time and she may rejuggle some stuff, but then eventually, I can remember when I started running. When I first started running, my wife was not so happy because I was gone more. I was working a lot and I was gone more, and we had young children. And then she realized how, and this is about the persistence, right? But I didn't say, okay, I'm not going to run. Right. I said, okay, I'm still going to run. Some months later, I would come home and she'd be like, you haven't run today, have you? And I'm like, no. She's like, get out of the house. Don't come talk to me until you've done your run, because then you're going to be human. Right. Because she saw the benefit. Right. So that out of me doing that, and then she can support me. And then she got more sophisticated. Honey, these are your children. They're in the stroller. Go for a run. Take them with you.
Nice.
And that's what we would do. Right.
Right. Wonderful. So she's supporting you.
Absolutely.
In what you're trying to
but
do.
It took some persistence, because at first, I felt bad. I'm already gone for work so much, and she didn't want me to, because, but I didn't say, it's not really optional. I feel like I'm going to go insane if I don't do some exercise. I need to do this. Right. And then eventually she sees the benefit and comes around. All right.
And you know what? That makes your time together that much more precious.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Right.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, that's true too. But it's it's really without doing our internal work, whatever that is, right? You talked about meditation, you talked about prayer, you talked about this listening time, this quiet time, sleep. You also mentioned, which is another one, that if you don't have those things, nothing else in your life works.
Right.
And so you can put a lot of energy into other things, and it's a waste, because you're gonna make a lot of shit around you, quite frankly.
Yeah, you have to put yourself first, and I think that the American, other cultures too, and other countries, but the American outlook is everything else comes first. I'll get to me later. And you see other cultures. I mean, most of them are not like that. Like Italians, I mean, they take freaking 2-hour nap in the middle of the day. Like, right. I can't imagine you in America. Hey, I'm going to take a 2-hour nap and then I'll get to that. There's no way.
Yeah, no, it's even, we even see it sort of like as holy or martyr, like I'm going to take care of everybody else. But you can't, if you don't have anything to give from, I think about, a guy asked me the other day, we were discussing about what's the very crux of Christianity. And I thought about that a lot, because there's a lot of things I agree with, a lot of things I don't agree with. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, to me, this is it, right? It's in Matthew, where Jesus says, love God. And then this is interesting. Love others. If you get really the right translation, it's not love your neighbor, it's love others. But here's the key: as you love yourself. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? First, you love God. You have to have that connection. Like we said, unless you have that connection, nothing else really works. But then you have to love yourself. And then out of loving yourself, out of taking your nap, taking care of yourself, doing your exercise, doing your meditation, then you can love others. Then you can love others as you love yourself. Then you can take care of others.
Exactly.
So that's interesting. Sum up. So I'm really curious. So it sounds like, you used a lot of this to build your business. It sounds like, even if you hadn't perfected it along the way, and then you've written it into this book with the 37 chapters, 37 lessons, 37 million. It's pretty also catchy subtitle there. Thank as you. Well. And you sold your business. What has that transition been like? How has it been? So you went from, this go creative, hard charging business guy. Mm-hmm. And then you sold your business. What was that like? And what was that transition like, especially at such a young age?
Well, there were several transitions. So during the inception of the business to maybe the first, I don't know how many years, but many years, it was just work, nothing mattered. I did the opposite of what we just talked about.
Right. Just put the hammer down. Yeah.
Killed me. I ended up in the hospital a couple of times. My nutrition was absolutely horrendous. I remember a day that I ate Wendy's 3 times in a single day, because it was the only restaurant that I could pass without taking any time for myself.
So it's a fast food on the right side of the road where you can just whip in and out. And
3 times it was on the right side. I just pulled in, got something, kept going, and that took its toll on me. But I did that for many years. The first transition was, it was actually the movie The Secret.
Hmm.
So I got in a fight. I don't write about this one in my book, but it was the first pivotal point that I had a shift. I quit. I quit my business, right? I got in a fight with my brother, which I did often. If
So
you
you
ever
guys
read,
were partners in the business, you and your brother?
yeah. Oh God, if you read the book, you'll see that there's we used to fight a lot. So this is one of the many, and I leave. I leave. I left for 2 weeks. I said, the hell with this business. I don't need this. It's not about the money for me anyway. I just want to be successful. But success doesn't necessarily mean making lots of money. It can mean making people happy. It can mean growing. It can mean learning. So I left and I got this advice. Hey, why don't you watch this movie, The Secret? So I did. And I was at home. I had my filing cabinet of all my stuff from work. I had taken it with me. I had take all my belongings. And at that point, I was very much a blue collar, dirty, greasy truck driver. That's what I was. I owned a business, but I really uh, was an employee, right? I was a glorified employee. I owned it. I made a lot of money, but I was a slave. And when I watched that movie, I started visualizing, like, man, it'd be nice to go to work in a suit, clean, not get on a truck and not have to do the deliveries and not work for 16 hours a day and come home with my back hurting. And, I never went to the gym. I never ate good food. It just sucked. So I had this moment where I said, there is another level and I can transition to this level. So when I returned to work, my clothes were probably horrible, but it was the best that I could do at that time. I had put a long sleeve shirt on and I tucked it in and I had my slacks. I walked it back into work. And I don't know how many employees I had at the time, maybe 20 or something. And I said, this is how I'm coming to work from now on. And I'm not getting on the truck anymore. And I'm going to run my business from here. I'm going to stop micromanaging all you people and doing all of your jobs, because that's what I used to
Right.
do. And this is the new me. And this is how it's going to go. And that was my first one where I kind of was like trying to push through, right? So the second one was when I came out of Date with Destiny, really like the major one, because I had ended up quitting again. I left my company for 14 months. And when you read the book, you'll see there was a lot of stuff that happened there, crazy stuff. And when I came back a new man. I came back like clean, educated. I knew about leadership. I learned about leadership. I learned about myself. I laid my past to rest and I just was focusing on the future and how can I design that and all those things. The next one was Keith Cunningham, who taught me about culture in business, which is probably the best lesson I ever learned in business, period, which is ironic because it's not about math and it's not about your customers. It's about your employees.
And how you interact
And
with them, and yeah, what's your
oh
behavior is
yeah,
like. Yep.
oh yeah, it was. I was so thrown off by the concept. It's like forget the customers, the employees. And when I learned that and I took that on and I really applied myself to, okay, how can I make a better culture? What are the things that these people want? And asking them questions and really being on their team and
Hmm.
putting myself in their shoes and how much would they want to make and what clothes do they want to wear and what kind of vacations do they want, what kind of benefits do they want. Everything changed. The energy just, I mean, it was crazy.
That's
They were
awesome.
so, yeah, it was insane. People would come and hang out at the office on their days off.
All right.
Think about it.
All
Like
right.
it was crazy. It was crazy. We put games and shootout and power plates and inversion tables, trampolines. I had all kinds of fun things in the office. We had meetings, pizza. Every month we'd have pizza. We announced birthdays. I really made it a family and a
Right.
very fun place to work with, to work at. So that was another huge moment and probably the last real moment of my transition in business where I kind
Right.
of leveled up. That was the final piece of, basically mastering business and becoming an expert.
Right. No, and that's a huge one. I mean, that's understanding that it starts with the people in your company. and they take care of the customers. And if you take good enough care of the customers, that'll take care of the owner.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they're happy, that positive energy transfers into your customer. Your employees are happy.
Yep.
Their positive attitude, their positive energy translates into their work. And that makes your customer happy, which comes full circle. Then I get money and we keep it going.
Yeah.
Right. But if you have disgruntled, I have 9 restaurants. We're about to open 6 more.
And did you have these during the time you also had the propane company, or did you launch these since?
Right towards the end, I got the first one. So if you have one disgruntled person who's at the register, just one, and it could be anything. It could be you don't want to give her the day off. You don't want to pay her $1 more. I don't know. It could be a million things.
Right.
You have one pissed off person at the register and you're serving 300 people a day. That's your face all day. That's your face all day for those 300 people.
That's right.
Those 300 people, what's the first thing they're going to do when they get back from lunch? This bitch at the register had such an attitude. So now that 300 turned into minimum 600, but probably 9 to 1,200.
Right. Of people that are never going to eat at your restaurant ever again.
Right? So we could compound this and then think about the dollar amount of that. Okay, what did that cost me? Holy crap.
Right.
So that needs to be extinguished immediately. Let's fix it. What do you need? What do you want? Do we need to just retire this person, or can we solve this and make it better and have a huge smile and get me more business? And then that person comes back from lunch and says, oh my God, that place was so great. The girl at the register is a doll. You really got to go check it out.
Yeah.
Completely different experience.
Absolutely. I mean, even when I'm teaching culture, and even in big business, I always say happy employees make happy customers, make happy shareholders. Right. But it goes in that order. Especially in top management, we want to focus a lot on the shareholder, on the guy that owns the company. Right. But actually, that's not where the value gets created. Right.
Correct.
And not only that, then it also becomes, like you talked about, having impact on people. Right. That your desires have impact on people. I mean, why not send people home better than they came to work? Yeah, maybe tired, but energized also, and feeling good, and feeling like they really contributed and learning something, and doing good through the business, not taking the good out of the people by the business,
And with something to look forward to, which it was a huge one for me. I constantly had meetings and I let people know what we were doing, why we were doing.
Absolutely.
Why we're doing it, how it's going to benefit the company, and how it's going to benefit you. And them having that information, and then was amazing, by the way. And because they all know what we were trying to, accomplish, but then also being able to help us push in that direction. But they say, wow, this is going to benefit me. Now I understand what we're doing, and let me push forward. It's just, people don't understand how valuable that is, man.
Yeah.
Like if you're just an employee and you're getting your wage, and they don't care. They're gonna act like, yeah, I'm just a guy here who gets paid $10 an hour and that's it. Like whatever. Nobody cares about me or what I'm doing or my life. Right. But if you change that and you make them part of the team and part of the vision and part of and a benefactor.
Yep.
Well, now things change. Now it's like, oh well, I want my employees to feel like they got skin in the game.
Yeah.
You got skin in the game.
Absolutely.
You're going to benefit from this. And it's not going to be one day. No, at the end of this month, we're going to tally it up and see what happens.
Right. The end of this month, the end of this shift, whatever it is. Yeah. Like where you can feel it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I created my entire culture around that. I wanted every single person to win.
And how are you seeing the results of that in your restaurants? You said you have 9 restaurants. So right now, how are you seeing the results of that in your, because it's a tough industry to get people in right now and hold employees.
Especially now it's rough. But in the beginning, I saw it very much so because I was hands-on. Now I'm not involved in the management at all. I'm completely removed from it.
Right.
We have a managing partner. He's doing his thing. I don't know how well he's doing or how bad he's doing because I never go to the restaurants. But I mean, the sales are good. I could tell you that much.
Right. Well, if that keeps up for a long time, then it's working well. Right.
Exactly.
You can fake that for a little while, but not very long.
Yeah.
Especially not in restaurants.
Yeah, but he seems to be doing a good job with it. When I was hands-on, I mean, you saw it immediately. I mean, treat people better, you give them what they want. And that all starts with asking them the right question. Like what will make you happy? What would make this job easier? What would make this job more fun? How do you see this? Just getting them involved is a huge part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that's really cool. So you've had, in a sense, you had the propane business really big, then you started the restaurant businesses, and that even, you have a lot of restaurants, but you're not actively engaged in management. So what are you doing now with yourself?
So I spend a lot of time with doing real estate transactions.
Mm-hmm.
I buy, sell, lend money, things like that. But I also spend a lot of time just doing whatever I want,
Mm-hmm.
which is
And how does that feel? Because a lot of people, I think a lot of people that, especially guys, maybe
mhm,
even ones that are a little bit older than you, but a lot of guys, they really identify with their business or with their job.
mhm,
Right. And you've given that away in a sense. And then of course you got paid well for it, but you separated
yeah,
yourself from the propane business. You built the restaurants, you still own them, but you're not actively involved. So you sort of separated yourself from that. And then you're doing some real estate, and then you're doing what you want with your time, which everybody thinks, oh, well, that must be so fantastic. Until you've tried it, sometimes it can be very depressing and sort of
yeah,
scary as well, sort of like the silent time that you talk about
yeah,
with writing.
yeah,
So how
yeah.
have
It's
you managed
actually
that transition? Because a lot of folks, when they get, they save up their whole life and get the retirement, think it's going to be so wonderful. And then they go on vacation for a little while, 3 months, 6 months. And then they think, wait a minute, is this all that there is?
so it's actually funny because the first time that I retired, it was more of a semi-forced sabbatical. It was first I quit, and then it turned into like a forced sabbatical. It was
From the
14
propane
months
business,
from the propane business.
right?
When I got in a fight with my brother, and a lot of things happened there. You'll see. So the first time I did that, I write about it in the book. It's so funny because you're at work all day, and right now, if you're at work, you're thinking about, I could be at the beach, I could go bowling, archery, I'd take a vacation, I could do all these things.
Right.
But then when you actually have the time, guess what? Everyone else is working, especially at my age, right? When I first did that, I was like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
geez, I don't know. I was probably
25 or
30.
something.
No, I was older. I was older. I was probably like 31 or something like that.
Okay. Okay.
And so, like, how many of my 31-year-old friends were free Monday through Friday? None of them.
Right.
So I had nobody to do all these things with.
Right.
So after that time, I realized, okay, I want to go back to work. I still wasn't done. I wanted to accomplish something, which I did. Now, this time around, I was really happy about it because I sold the business for several important reasons. And some of them are, number one, I wasn't having fun anymore. It wasn't the business that I started. Obviously, it was better, made a tons of money. It was a super happy place to work, but I wasn't enjoying it to the degree that I used to.
Right.
When you're at that level and you're making all that money and you have all these employees, I kind of just felt like every day I was getting complaints, or hey, this guy crashed, or we found out so and so was stealing, or we might lose that account. We got to go save it.
Right.
It wasn't the same fun for me. I
Right.
wasn't.
Right. You're a
And my
builder, entrepreneur, you're a greenfield guy, innovator, and you'd
Yeah,
already done that. And then it was
yeah,
running a
exactly.
business, a stable business. And that's a different game.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, and my first goal was to make $100 a day. So I had far past that goal, like several exits ago, and I kept raising my goal. I kept, first goal was like 3 million, then it was 5 million, then it was 10, and then it was whatever, 25, whatever. So and I was already a millionaire without selling the business. So I was just like, I don't need this money. And if I'm not
Right.
having fun, what the hell am I doing here?
Right.
But another part of it was I loved it so much, and it was so much my identity
Right.
that I wanted to kill that so that it wasn't my identity.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, I am not this company.
Right.
And it's funny because I see
So you
everyone else.
actually became proactive about that, like where most guys like
Yeah,
really resist that. They're like, oh, they cling to it. I'm a lawyer and
no,
I've been a lawyer and I'm gonna be a lawyer till I die.
no,
Right. But you
yeah, I
actually
agree.
saw that this was no longer healthy for you and you wanted to cleave this.
Yeah, because it's
Interesting.
like losing sleep. It just I wasn't having fun. It wasn't
Right.
fun. I was so we had when I sold the business, we had about 6,500 customers.
Wow.
Okay. And ranging from huge companies to
Right.
very, very small. And I will tell you, if I lost an account that made me $5 a month, it would affect me the same as if I lost somebody who I made 100 grand off of.
Oh, wow.
It was personal.
Wow. So
It
you
was my
needed a
business.
separation.
Yeah. And I said, I don't come here to lose. I come here to win. Like, I
Right.
don't want to lose customers. I come here to gain customers, which is another reason why we gained so much business, because I refused to lose. At all costs, pretty much. But it was me. It was
Right.
24/7 me, and I
Right.
felt every speed bump. I felt every rock in the road. I just was like, "Oh my god!" And then the wins, I never celebrated the wins enough. Right?
Mm.
Somebody asked me the other day on an interview, "What would you change if you could change anything?" And I said, "You know what I would change? I would change celebrating the victories, because I didn't do that enough." Right? So if I lost $10, it'd be like a dagger to the heart. But if I made 1 million, I'm like, okay, million in the bank, let's keep going.
Okay.
Right?
Wow. Well, that's a really good insight, because I think that's true with a lot of people, that they don't celebrate the wins very often. And that was
Yeah.
it. Was
And,
it Date with
and I'm,
Destiny that triggered that for you, or
no, I don't think I
it,
really, I
it's
don't
just a
think I
reflection
really,
looking back now, that if you could go back and talk to your younger self, you would say spend a lot more
I,
time celebrating the good stuff as well.
yeah, I know when it happened. It happened when I was writing the book.
Oh,
Like the
okay.
first third of the book, I remember writing about how I was as a young man, and I was buying all these things and having all this fun.
You're
And
still a young man, Max.
well, but I was a lot younger, and, and I felt a lot younger. But yeah, man, I remember like I used to have all this fun. Even when I wasn't in my gas business, I had fun buying properties and selling properties and all this stuff. And I was like, man, I used to have so much fun and I used to be so aggressive. What changed? When did that change? And I did some thinking time on it, very brief thinking time.
Right.
When the hell did this change for me? Why did I stop having fun? And why did I stop being so aggressive? And why am I not this guy anymore? And I haven't been that guy all the way up until now. And I realized there was the moment I was debt free my whole journey until I had to uh, basically come up with $4 million to buy out my brother. And I could only come up with 1 million of it in cash. So I had to get a loan for 3 million. And that to me
Mm-hmm.
was like the end of the world.
Mm.
3 million, especially at that time. 3 million then was probably like, I don't know, 10 million now.
Right.
And
Right.
it felt like if they just put a giant boulder on my chest. So I just didn't have any more fun. I didn't have that boulder didn't come off until I sold the company.
Right. Okay.
'Cause
And
it felt
it sort of took away your perceived right to celebrate, because you had this debt
yeah,
hanging
you're
out
not
there.
winning if you owe money. Like you owe more money
Right.
than what you have. Like how and I had spent the majority of my life up until that point being debt free,
Right.
buying properties, paid off cash. My house was paid off cash. My cars were paid off cash. Had apartments and warehouses and all kinds of things paid off cash. And then it's like $3 million. Like shit,
Right.
everything that I've worked for, I just lost. Right? Like that's kind of how it felt. And
Right.
it was,
Right.
I think a lot of it was subconscious.
Sure.
And
But
that
during
was the
that
moment.
time is when you would have said, "Hey, we need to keep celebrating the wins, even with that
Right.
time." Yeah.
So here's the deal. Looking back on it, I go, man, I never really did anything. Like, think about what I just said, paid off this, paid off all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
I didn't throw a party when I did. I didn't go
Right.
get an ice
Right.
cream cone and say, man, you really
Ah,
deserve
right. Right.
it.
Yeah.
It could be something small.
Yeah.
I didn't acknowledge those things, but then I would acknowledge the the kick in the balls.
The negative
So
things. No, that's, I mean,
right.
that's really, but that's really important. And that's a really great one. I mean, it's really important because, you know, it's life is only the moments, right? And
Mhm.
if you don't stop and appreciate and recognize those moments as they go by, then then in the end, you're not having a great life, quite frankly, if you're only focused on
Yeah.
the negative stuff.
Gotta live in the moment, man.
Yeah. No,
That would be my advice.
that's powerful. So that's the advice you would give to your younger self. That's one thing if you would change going back and building that propane business, is to celebrate the wins as you go.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you something else. Adding to that, I had not realized really, truly what I had done until that moment writing the book in my house in Key Largo. I still had tons of money in the bank that I hadn't touched, I hadn't bought anything. I was still not treating myself right.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
that's when that was a turning point for me. I said, you know what? I'm going to buy some nicer clothes. I'm going to buy
Yeah.
a nicer car. I'm going to get a nicer house and just spend some of this money. Like, what am
Yeah.
I doing with all this
Yeah.
money? Like, why don't I enjoy it? And, so that was a turning point for me.
Good for you. Good. That's a big one. I'm curious two things. Do you feel like the transitions will ever stop in your life, or is that something that's always going to continue?
Buddy of mine told me every 10 years you go through one.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking about it, I was like, that seems pretty accurate. I think you're a different person every 10 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess every 10 years.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I think we focus a lot on it for the first 10 years. We focus a lot on it for the second 10 years. Right. And then we focus a lot on it for the seventh 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But those ones in between, they don't get a lot of attention.
Right.
Right. We don't really, there's not a big body of work on it. We don't talk about it, especially as guys, we're just doing our thing and we don't talk about it. And I think I think your friend is right. I think there's a lot more major transitions going on in between.
Well, and I'll tell you what I've seen with a lot of people my age and older is that they don't really have anything to look forward to.
Mm.
And it's not that they can't have something to look forward to. They don't.
Yeah, that's right.
Have something.
Yeah.
They want to watch football and drink beer and all this crap. I'm like, dude, but what about your life? Like, did you die? Because the things that you're talking about, it's entertainment, and that's not getting you anywhere. I can predict. I can tell you name a handful of people, tell you exactly where they're going to be on Sunday and what they're going to be eating and what they're going to be. It's like, dude, what about your life? Like, you done? Right. You're done. You're no vacation. Not going to take care of yourself anymore. You don't care about what your wife thinks about how you look. Right. Like, you don't want to be around for your kids. You don't want to see them get married. Like, is that it? You just gave up? Because there's a life. There's a human being. There's a heart beating in that body. You have a soul.
That's
Let's use it.
Yeah.
Put it to work, man. Let's have some freaking fun. Let's do something.
Absolutely. Do something that inspires you. Something that it scares you. That brings the life out. That brings the light. Turns the light on in your eyes.
Best moments in life.
Oh, no, that's right. That's right. Yeah. No, it's and again, going back to the comment you said earlier, we don't have to know how it's going to end. See, I think a lot of times when I would get stuck, I wouldn't start because I was afraid how it's going to end. Or not knowing how it's going to end. Well, we don't know how it's going to end.
You're predicting it.
Yeah. Instead of just get started. You feel inspired, go get started.
Right. And you're probably predicting a future that you didn't want.
Yeah, some of the times.
Some of the times. Some of the times you say,
one of the things that I've thought about recently, like I've just decided to try to qualify to run the Boston Marathon. Mm-hmm. And I've been running marathons forever, but my fastest one was 12 years ago, and it was still 25 minutes slower than I needed now at my age to qualify for Boston. So 1 minute per mile faster than I've ever run. Mm-hmm. I have to do now at 52:53. And it's a tall order. I don't even know if I'll get there, but that's not the point. I felt the inspiration. I did like what you said, which I don't always do in my life. I took action quickly, talked to one of my friends that had done it, hired a coach, got the shoes, got going. Right. Mm-hmm. I already feel the difference. Only 8 weeks into training, I already feel the difference, but I'm looking forward to running Boston, and I think I'll get there, but I'm much more excited about the journey of who I will become because of the journey than I am about actually running Boston Marathon.
Did you do like a thinking time? Do you have all the things out? I feel like you could do even more.
Well, there was two big ones that I had, and there's probably more, but there's two big ones. One was to hire a coach and have a detailed, not just running, but detailed running, strength, and stretching programs from that coach. And I have all of those from that coach. And then the second big one was how I eat. How and when I eat. Now, the third one that I've been talking around a lot, but I didn't think about specifically related to Boston, but it's related to the whole rest of my life, is also how I sleep. That's why I sort of resonate when you said set an alarm to go to sleep, because my Boston coach told me, when we started talking everything, blah, 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 what I'm doing, he said, how much are you sleeping? I said, I have a bottom line for myself, 7.5 hours, but recently it's been about 6.5 hours. He said, dude, you need to be having 8.5 hours plus with the training load you're doing. And you can get there, but if you don't, it's going to grind you down. Right. So there are other things that I didn't think about, but the two things I really love about this process so far, and I'm only 8 weeks into what might be an 18-month process, quite frankly. The two big things that I'm really excited about is I took action right away.
Nice.
Right. And I'm willing to follow the instructions of what it takes to get there. Right. So it's like I hire a coach and there's no doubt, like I've not skipped a single workout. Sometimes it's 3 a day. I haven't skipped a single one. Right. Because I'm willing, and I'm not attached to the outcome of it in an ego sense. Like if I don't make it, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to transform myself anyhow. And that's what I'm most excited about.
Good. And so I love asking questions, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's one. Based on where you are today, 8 weeks in, with 10 weeks to go, what will your future look like in 10 weeks? Will you be the guy who can accomplish this? Or is there something else that we need to add now to increase the odds for your trajectory, like for where you're
Yeah,
going?
no, that's a good question because there's one that I think about there. Like my next test marathon is in April. So I'm 16 weeks out right now for my next test marathon, which to see where we are and how much training needs to change and how long it'll take me to qualify. But there's there's this little nagging thing because it's around this little foot injury I have on my right foot. Like that's the only sort of excuse I have built in there. Like, what if I can't heal this? So, but there are obviously things I could do, and I've already thought about it. I've already had a quiet thinking time on it, but that I haven't taken action on, which is I have this great physical therapist that I know that's totally holistic. And I could, hey, Missy, let's get an appointment. I want to talk to you about this foot. And then what do we need to do to make sure I don't get injured? What do I need to do proactively to keep that going? So that's a good one. So thank you for that, Max. That's one I'll follow up on.
Awesome. Great.
So I really appreciate it. I got one last big question for you and then a couple small ones. But the big one is, if you could boil down all the things we talked about, which is pretty amazing. I mean, the transitions that you felt with, being baptized, with Date with Destiny, with what you learned from Joe Dispenza, the transitions you went through during business, and even the letting go and separating your identity from your businesses, which is, I'm really amazed, and without sounding patronizing, I'm really proud of you for seeing that as a good thing, not a bad thing. Like so many men, and I'm speaking about myself as well, they have such a hard time to let go. So that's really great. But all those big transitions, if there's one tool that you could leave with our listeners, that if they took action on this one thing, that you feel would make the most difference for them, what would that be? What would you say is your number one tool to make a successful transition?
Okay, so I'm going to give you one, and I want to touch on what you just said. I don't want to forget it, but let me give you the tool.
Touch on what I just said first, and then we'll come back. I'll remember the question, so we'll come back on it.
All right. So with identity, right? I want to give you an example. A guy that I was friends with for many years, for 25 years, he's a police officer, sergeant, and he has over a year paid time off. Okay.
That's how much he's accumulated in his career so far. Wow.
Because he does not take the time off. Over a year. Okay. So at any moment, he could walk and say, I'm taking a month off, and they can't tell him anything. Right? Paid. He could do it for a year, technically.
Right.
Say, I'm out for a year. Bye. He's a sergeant detective in the police force. He is so pent up on, I am a sergeant detective in the police force, that he has never taken a vacation with his friends. We go to Hawaii, we go to Costa Rica, we go to Dominican Republic, we take cruises, we go skiing, all the things we do. The guy misses out on all of it, right? And I want you and your listeners to think about this in your life and why I felt so strongly about separating myself from the identity of who I am as this business person. God forbid he gets hit by a bus, shot in the line of duty, whatever.
Right.
What, on a Monday?
Yep.
What do you think is going to happen on Tuesday?
I mean, if he's dead, his wife's going to regret it for him. But if he's alive, he's going to be regretting that he didn't do some of the things to enjoy life as he went.
Okay, let's say he's dead and we're in his office and none of his family is there. And everyone's already said, oh man, did you hear about what happened to this guy? Wow, that sucks. Guess what happens next?
They forget about it.
Yeah, they say, well, who are we going to hire? Who's going to take his desk?
Who's next? Who's going to fill the hole? Who's my partner now? Who's going to cover this case now?
Let's promote Rodriguez. Rodriguez, here, you're going to sit in this guy's chair.
Yep, that's it.
Done.
Moves on. Yep.
This is done. This is not a non-issue. You're the new guy. You sit here. Done. So this guy sacrificed his whole life of vacations and amazing memories with friends and family and everything to be this guy. And at the end of the day, guess what, bro? If you die, there's gonna be another guy.
Yeah, it's gone.
Another guy. Yep. He's gonna sit in your chair and he's gonna drink out of your mug and he's gonna have all these same benefits that you had. Tough shit.
Yep.
Life goes on. So for me, I was like, dude, I'm not living my life the way that I want to live it and do the things I want to do, which sometimes is nothing.
Right.
Sometimes you just
Absolutely.
want to do
And it's really
nothing.
important to do nothing.
Right.
Sometimes.
And I can't because of this identity or how much emotion I've attached to this thing, this business. And for that reason, it has to go.
Yeah, but
For
that's
that
really,
reason, it has to
but that's really powerful, Max, that you saw that while you were still in it.
go.
Because most addicts cannot see the problem when they're in the addiction.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's a case. I mean, I'm a workaholic, right? And I know
Yeah.
it. And I could not see the problem when I was in it.
Mhm.
Right. So really kudos to you
Yeah,
for
thank you.
seeing that while you
Well,
were in it.
I'll tell you what helped me, and maybe this will help you and your listeners. What helped me was knowing what I considered success. Like how do you identify success? For example, like I told you earlier in the interview, I kept raising my bar, right? Well, first
Yep.
it's 3 million, then it's 5 million, then it's all these millions of dollars. And I'm like, dude, I have continually hit the benchmark. When am I going to get off the bus?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I don't want to sit on this bus till I'm 90 years old and be the guy that sold gas while I'm 90 years old. And,
Right.
like, what are you sacrificing? You're sacrificing a life.
Right.
So I realized that. I said, shit, I have to live the type of life that I want to live. I have more than enough.
Right.
So now, why don't I go live it now?
Right.
Like, I already won. You won the
That's
championship,
right.
man.
That, good for you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Go celebrate,
Yeah. Good for you. No, that's great.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I just wanted to make sure I gave you that, because it's like I say it in another way to people. I'm like, when I see people that are stuck, I'm like, you know what they're gonna say 30 minutes after your funeral? Like,
Who's
what?
next?
They're gonna say, what do you want to eat?
Right.
You hungry?
Right.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
It's it.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
done.
Yep.
They'll remember you fondly. They'll shed a couple tears every
Yeah.
Christmas. They'll toast, and that's it, bro.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep.
You're done. Give
Yep.
away his stuff. I mean, and that's it. Sell his truck, and that's it. Life goes on. Oh my God, boohoo. Life goes on. The world is not going to stop. So if you're struggling with, I'm this guy and I'm the guy who's known as this, imagine tomorrow you're not here. Guess who's the next guy's going to be the guy. Okay.
Yep.
The world doesn't end because you're not around.
Yep.
So
No,
you got to
that's
live
right.
life for you and your family. So the advice.
Yeah. So what is the one tool you would give that you would say, if you didn't take anything else and you're an action bias guy, so maybe only just give them one thing, say, go take action on this. What would that be?
Yeah. So for me, it's always been the same. And in Spanish, they say you are who you hang out with. My advice is spend time with the people that are getting the results that you're after. And it's as simple as that.
Okay.
You can hang out with bankers, you're going to learn something about banking. You hang out with drug users, you're going to end up doing drugs. You spend a year in China, you're going to learn Chinese. Like, this is the easiest, simplest tool. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to feel like you're not enough. Nothing. All you got to do is put yourself in the room or in proximity of the people that are getting the results that you're after, and your life is going to change.
Yep.
Simple.
There's
no other instruction to that.
When you talk about the results that you're after, are you limiting that to business or across any area of life?
Across the board. Across the board. It could be spiritual results, work results, relationship. People that are doing what you want to do, bridge the gap. Spend time with them.
Put yourself in proximity to them.
Absolutely. And
physical proximity, reading their books, read whatever it is, but all the above.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and if you could get in the room, even better.
Right.
But if you can't get in the room, that's a great point. I used to tell my friends when I was going through my journey, I have along my life, I've had several realizations, like particular people are not good for me and I'm going to stay away from them. And oftentimes I found myself alone, and I had this thought one day. I said, well, I'm alone in this room, so I can't be in proximity with anyone, right? Because I'm alone. But if I watch a YouTube video or read a book, they're in the room with me.
That's right.
Because I'm connecting. So even if I'm alone, I can get this energy, this mindset from other people simply by reading their book or by watching a video or whatever.
Yeah, listening to a podcast, whatever it is.
Yeah. Listening to a podcast. That's how I can get people going to be listening to this right now and benefiting from it in that sense as well. Right. So that's the way that I would do it. And the reason I would leave that instruction, because it's such an easy instruction to follow. It's not like, hey, hold on, get a pen and paper, write this down. No, dude, this is the easiest thing I could leave you. Spend time with the people who are getting the results from it. It could be spiritually, it could be business, anything. And at the same time, have the radar. If people are doing things that you see them that you don't like, or they're using the drugs, or man, you talk about this guy like this guy's gonna end up in jail. Okay, don't hang out with him.
Right.
You have to protect yourself. And it doesn't have to be something that drastic. It also be someone who disempowers you, someone who talks to you negatively. You tell them your dreams and they say, oh, that sucks, you're never going to do it. Dude, bye.
Right.
Bye. And you know what? Sometimes it's people close to you. It could be your family. And in those cases, you might want to have a conversation with them and say, hey, listen, I really need you to not disempower me or be this person to me. You need to be, pushing me up and promoting me and helping me, not kicking me, and throwing dirt on my dreams. And if they cannot do that for you, have a nice day. Peace out. Goodbye. I'm not going to your house. I'm not watching football with you. I'm not going to Christmas at your house. Done.
Right.
Send them love.
Absolutely.
And send them on their way.
And be an inspiration. Then they can learn from you later, and maybe they'll come back around.
Exactly.
Now that's awesome. Then I got a question. Then where can people find out more about you? Where can they hear about your book? Where can they hear about what you're doing and connect with you?
Well, I'm pretty active on Instagram. The book is Amazon.
And what's your ID on Instagram? Is it just Max Lewis?
Who is Max Lewis? Yeah, Who is Max Lewis?
Who is Max Lewis? Yeah. Same as your website, which is also whoismaxlewis.com.
Yes, sir. They have a bunch of stuff open, TikToks and all that stuff. I never really get on that, but they've been putting like videos on YouTube. So pretty accessible on social platforms.
On all the platforms, but the website and the Instagram seems to be the ones that you resonate with the most.
Yeah, Instagram I check, and email max@whoismaxlewis.com.
So, and then the book is available everywhere now too. They can pick it up.
Available everywhere, yeah. And Amazon, I usually tell people just get on Amazon. It gets to your house in 2 days. And
it's the easiest. That's where I got mine. It came right away.
And then I also tell people, please don't forget to leave a review on Amazon, because fortunately and unfortunately, everybody will eat. I have had people message me through LinkedIn, send me emails, send me Facebook messages, send me Instagram messages, get my number from other people, and they text me. I have an album with like 300 really cool like reviews, and I'm like, dude, don't tell me, put it on Amazon, because that helps the book and it helps other people. I'm really glad that the book helped you and you like it, but please leave a review on Amazon if you read it.
Awesome. So if they want to support you, that's the best way, is to leave a review in public where it can reach other people, because where you're at in your life right now, as you said, you have enough and you really want to make an impact for others.
Yes. And for your listeners, they obviously like listening to things. There's an Audible, which is doing really well. Yeah,
which is a great way I love Audible books as well. So Max, I really, really appreciate it. I'm inspired by you, especially for being able to see while you're in the middle of the fight that you need to disengage. That's and to change your identity. That's really unusual, and it's really exciting for me to see, and how much you have in front of you. That you've mastered the economic game already, and now you've turned your attention to other things, and I think it's really great, and the way you're living life so full. So thank you so much for spending this hour and 15 minutes with me. I'm really honored to have you on as a guest, and looking forward to keeping up with you as you keep going and growing.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I'm very grateful. So again, thanks again. This is great.
Thanks a lot, Max.
All right. Take care.
I can't wait to hear what action you are taking. Connect with me on LinkedIn or our website, lifeintransition.online, and let me know. Let a friend know too. It could be a huge encouragement to them and keep you on the track. Thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and it would mean a lot to me if you left a review and shared this episode with a friend. If you want to learn more about me and what I do when I'm not podcasting, please visit me at artblanchford.com. Thank you for listening. Together, let's make the most of life in transition.